Let's suck up everything that we can find. Because otherwise, what's the point? I mean, there is one point. Hopefully. Hitting something to appropriate level. Okay, yes, I don't need that. This one I'm not sure about. Well, I guess I do need. Shots. Wait, no, I guess I can just convert them.
Oh, still need to go through last quarter's financial report.
It's not. Well, let's hope it's the correct one. Ressa, I believe you might be the one that I want. Or need. And need. And want. But instead I get second Mizuki. But wait, that doesn't make any sense. Come on, Ian-san.
Hi there, I'm Ian-san, from the Collective of Plenty, and I'm the most well-known fitness coach in my tribe. You look like you're in pretty good shape. Do you work out too?
At least it wasn't that long ago. Shinyon 5-star. Four is 20, so she came down on 30 rolls or something. which is not bad. At least she came early. Remember my love? No. Not really love.
What a headache.
So she can deal damage now. More damage now. She's also swirl DPS. Or something like that. Because nothing else matters for her. Mm. Mm. And it's popular. That's nice. Can go fight popular. Yeah. That's not gonna work out.
Let's get started.
And sun. Sure.
Faster, stronger. Sweet dreams. Let's ride.
Rev the engines!
Coach will take it from here. Controlled breathing.
Gotta go fast.
Quick as a flash. Charge!
Wow. What are you doing?
Controlled breathing. Back to the doctors.
Great.
Me.
Okay, I know how it looks now, at least.
Yeah!
great. Let's... Artifacts, fast equip, custom configuration, recommended stats. Sure. Attack double crit. Okay, scroll. Confirm filter. Energy recharge attack. First switch to this one. Or this one. It also looks like something good. She doesn't need crit, she doesn't deal that much damage. Air, please. And that's not air. Yeah, no. Well, maybe I'll get attack percent. I did get attack percent. Here we go. Specifically for you. And just take this one. Why do attack percent double crit? Attack percent energy recharge. Energy recharge attack percent. Also. No, not the thing that I want. Gonna lock it, but not because I believe in it. One energy recharge. What about the one that she currently uses? Flat defense. No, don't work. That doesn't help her at all. None of them are energy recharge. Maybe like that. Or at least some energy recharge. Though I suspect her best weapon is from this family. Or this one. Yes, it is indeed from this one. Ah.
Burn it down! Rev the engines! Full throttle!
Coach will take it from here. Faster, stronger.
Light of the blazing sun!
Quick as a flash.
Let's ride!
Rise with the sun! Incinerate! Wrath from the skies! Incinerate!
Coach will take it from here. Faster, stronger. Coach will take it from here.
Oh no.
Let's ride!
What am I supposed to do with that?
Rev the engines!
Okay. I see no birds. So I'm gonna go there. And take this bird.
Burn it down! Yeah! Scatter! Skyward!
Quick as a flash. On my mark.
Let's ride! Yeah. Skyward! Scatter!
Turn that frown upside down.
Coach will take it from here. I overdrained and
Oh, no.
underperformed.
Incinerate! Yeah! Pyroclastic surge!
Well, let's go like this. Craftable amount 14. Oh. Well, that's enough.
Faster, stronger. Harder.
Let's ride! Full throttle! Skyward! Scatter!
Sweet dreams. The darkness
Well,
closing.
that was a dodge in the wrong direction.
Skyward!
Coach will take it from here. Quick as a flash.
Rev the engines! Skyward! Scatter!
Controlled breathing.
Let's ride! Time to buckle down. Rise with the sun!
Coach will take it from here.
Can you...
Wait! My
the fuck
mechanical
was that?
disaster! Wrath from the sky!
Oh, come on. I'm not fighting that. So, Papilla.
Skyward!
Time to relax. Faster, stronger. Think I need a
You
rest
bitch.
day.
Why does it not... Why can I not dodge?
Rise with the sun! Skyward!
Sweet dreams. I can still feel the pain. Doesn't count. I had to eat.
Test.
Yeah, let's get this over with.
Light it up!
Hear the echoes of the valley!
Fallen leaves, adorn my...
Fulfill our pact. You two. Time to end.
Pyroclastic surge!
All right. Let engraved names echo!
Clouds high, the birds come.
Show no mercy. Suffer the wrath of the...
Light of the blazing sun!
Makes sense, way too much sense, maybe even. Percent energy recharge, double crit, maybe this also. Crit rate, that's what I want. Not crit damage, crit rate. Okay. This one and enhance. That doesn't look like something I have problems with. How about you just want me to check? Well, no, actually, I might have some problems. Because there are no double crit. Yes, of course. Why are you even locked? There we go, double crit. It's a good one.
Yeah! Skyward!
Turn that frown upside down.
It's not like I will use it ever. Okay, please be. Actually, it doesn't really matter. Crit damage would be nice, I suppose. But defense, well, I would prefer defense percent. But alright. Then there are actually correct substats for Dendro, two of them at least.
Letting brave names echo! Show no mercy! Suffer the wrath of Eastleaf!
Light of the blazing sun!
Full throttle!
All right.
For someone in particular. Getting 100 crit rate. Yeah, just need another top one, please. Thank you. That was on the top one. So I'm content. A recommended order in effect, but she doesn't need crit damage, actually. What's wrong with those snippets? Why do they not? Why are they not affixed to the right place? Minor. Yeah, it's trash. about this one? Pens, trash. Why did she need 76 of that? Or how much was that? It felt like it was a lot. $79. Why 79? But who uses it? Why 79?
All right.
Wind strike. Sure.
Fulfill our pact! Eat Laline, eat Papa, get him!
Wrath from the sky! Incinerate! Incinerate! Try and stop me!
Falling leaves. Adorn my night.
Show no mercy! You two! Time to end them!
All right.
I wish there was no character switching cooldown. Trash. Arguable trash. Two, 4, 6, 14, 26, 46, 46. How much do you need? So I guess that goes for 79. Both of them. But that's obviously a little hard to deal with because of those things. Alright. I appreciate it. No, also. Thank you. I appreciate it as well. What could I do right now to get much more premium gems? Is there an event currently? Looks like there is. 10 and 12 days. Also test run.
Hurry up, Grassa! Running late again. Here I go!
Final warning!
Was the wrong button.
You're toast!
It's not how she works.
Midnight Phantasmagoria.
She requires her button to be held down.
Stop right... Final warning!
Look out below!
Volcano kablam! Boof! By my spark, the night burns!
Hero incoming!
Yeah! Kapow! Headbutt!
Wings of darkness! Come, sever next.
Drop your weapons!
At the frying pan, into the fire, please!
Hands where I can see them! Hi! Yeah!
Go. I did it correctly.
Rain outlines your fate. Rain.
I'm going in!
Seize the skies.
Place my hammer. Stop.
Stop, you mighty mythical beast!
Place my hammer. Shit. Place my hammer.
Let me weave you a verse.
Huh? Everybody stand back!
Stray clouds converge.
Many happy returns! Congratulations!
Know my sword. Witness the power.
Let's light it up! I'm going in!
Scatter! Skyward! Seize the skies! Rain outlines your fate.
Hop to it, Manzai! So. So. Ta.
Let's go in, son.
Controlled breathing. Let's move! Keep pushing! Keep pushing!
Stop right
from here. Controlled breathing.
On my mark! Huh? Going in! Final warning! You asked for it!
Come to it, Manzai. Sorry, pal.
I don't see how Hanson
Teamwork is true! Hands where I can see 'em!
Faster, stronger. Let's move!
I have no clue what I did. I probably did a lot of things incorrectly. I'm not going to do anything about those two. Like,
Add as. Thank you for Add as.
I don't want that. $195. Let's go kill some dickheads.
Burn it down! Yeah! Skyward! Rev the engines! Light it up! Yeah! Scatter!
Quick as a flash.
Pyroclastic surge! Ah! Full throttle!
Coach will take it from here. Charge!
Rise with the sun! Yeah! Scatter! Skyward!
Sweet dreams.
Let's ride! Rev the engines! Let's ride!
I go. Points me there, I suppose.
Coach will take it from here. Faster, stronger. Keep pushing.
Okay, nice.
About what you told us earlier, you're saying a gigantic rock could crush us at any moment?
Well, not at any moment. It's a pretty rare phenomenon. Many adventurers come here and never even get to see it, so I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, okay. It's not like we're that unlucky.
Step aside.
Hmm.
Hey, you want to try deadlifting that? Quick as a flash.
What the fuck is this war?
Let's ride. Try and stop me.
Well, one more meat.
Faster, stronger. Yeah.
Sorry. It wasn't.
Let's ride.
I probably fucked stuff up.
Coach will take it from here. Keep pushing! Controlled breathing.
Yeah.
Time to relax.
Oh, come on! Seriously?
Don't be scared. Just charge straight at it.
What? Thanks for that. I can't believe you smashed something that big in a single hit.
It was nothing. All it takes is a bit of training.
Time to test my...
Rev the engines.
Quick as a flash.
Hilly churros? It's too much of a hassle to deal with them. Let's just ram straight through.
I overtrained and underperformed.
Breath from the sky.
Hey, you guys are good. Color me impressed. Huh? Looks like they're blocking the road in and out of the tribe. So we'll have to get rid of them sooner or later. All right, let's hurry. We're almost there.
Let me take a moment to do that.
Coach will take it from here. Quick as a flash. pushing! Charge! Stay out of my way! Keep pushing! Controlled breathing. Home sweet home. We made it! Welcome to the Collective of Plenty.
Whoa! This place is so cool! That platform shaped like the head of a bull is awesome!
That's the Resonating Arena. It's where we hold all our competitions. Don't mention it. It was no trouble at all. I wish I could show you around, but I need to get home.
Oh, did you remember something important? You really hit the ground running when we ran into those hilly trails back there.
Oh, no, not at all. We made it in time. There's just something important I have to do. The most important thing after training. The post-workout meal.
Paimon's gonna be friends with you.
Otherwise, I'll be a lethargic, dizzy, hunger-addled mess. The perils of an empty stomach. It's terrible. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I gotta get some food in me. Like, yesterday. You should grab something, too. We can meet back up at the arena. See you soon!
Yay!
And she's off. Wow, talk about whiplash. 1 second she's chill and laid back, and then the next she's charging headfirst into danger. Literally.
With the spirit of youth.
The spirit of youth. Sure, whatever you say, old-timer. Paimon thinks we're still young. Anyway, why don't we take a look around in the meantime? We can head to the arena in a little bit. The view must be amazing from up there.
You're not gonna open the door?
Harder!
I'm gonna talk to you. You have question marks above your heads. I trust you. Well, why there specifically? Can't I just teleport there? Well, I guess to teleport there I need to...
Coach will take it from here.
first know where
Faster,
there
stronger.
is.
Keep pushing.
Alright. World exploration. Signify for the greatness of pet.
And a matching bib?
Controlled breathing.
Come on. Yay!
Quick as a flash. Keep pushing.
Doesn't run far. It's annoying.
Charge!
Let's ride.
Full throttle.
Oh,
Hey, you want to try deadlifting that?
Controlled breathing.
all the props. But oh, why did you not land me on the water like running? That's weird. It's fine. Let's transform into someone. Not one of those. People's animals.
Find somewhere to hide!
Gonna
Time to test my upper arm strength.
Is it over? Oh, yeah, seems like it's over.
trying to go around, come on. not around.
Step aside.
Hmm. I can get some there somehow, I think. And that the question of how to get there is probably pretty easy to answer. Let's go ahead and use Farina.
Quick as a flash.
Something to add to my collection. Many insects have a compulsion to follow
Right, why do I
the light.
bother? I'm
And
just
humans
going
are the
to
same.
look at
Except we call that light hope.
Here's a waypoint. Good. There probably is some quest related to this area. Yes, there is. At least the boss. Nice. On top of him. It's nice. Okay. I'll see this area whenever I get to you doing this quest. There is a big chance I will be doing this quest. Maybe even dispatch. Well, considering everything, I should probably go and watch.
Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Yeon-sun is out now and you're probably wondering how to use her and who the heck to use her with. In this video, I went Yeon-sane and decided to test Yeon-sun with 15 of the most popular attack scaling DPS characters to give you all an idea of who she works with and who she doesn't, both at Constellation 0 and at Constellation 6. This video was filmed on the early access server, so things might change on her release. And this video won't have as much editing because I just want to get this information out there to you guys to help you decide if Yeon-sun is even worth it for your account or not, since I've had some time to test her. In case you aren't aware, Yeon-sun provides some very substantial attack buffs and is also capable of equipping the Cinder City set. And while she's very solid for certain teams at Constellation 0, she gets significantly better with her constellations. Although I was actually surprised by the real impact of her constellations, and it might not be what you'd expect. Now, what really sets her apart from Bennett, the broken baseline for attack buffers, is that instead of playing circle impact, you're playing fitness impact with Yeon-sun, as what's important for Yeon-sun is how much your character moves. This won't be a full guide on her, that will probably hopefully come out tomorrow or so, but basically the way that she works is that you use her elemental skill, then you usually do her charged attack kick, and then you can use her burst. After she uses her burst, her attack buff is based on how many Night Soul points she has, and the goal for Yeon-sun is to generally keep her above 42 out of her 54 Night Soul points, as the buff scales by 27% of her attack stat for the active character instead of half a percent times her Night Soul points, so 21% or less effectively while she's under 42 Night Soul points. Fortunately, Hoyoverse added a visual indicator for if you're over 42 Night Soul points, as it shows up as this little Yeon-sun rooting for you icon, whereas if you're under 42 Night Soul points, it shows this little skull/mask icon as Yeon-sun is disappointed in your fitness levels. And in order to stay over 42 Night Soul points, Yeon-sun gains Night Soul points based on how much your character moves, whether that's horizontal or vertical movement. If you move, it counts as a workout, and she'll generate around 2/3 of a Night Soul point for each meter your character has moved. Let's take a quick look at the buffs that she provides. At Constellation 0, she provides 690 attack at burst level 10, and in this video she's providing 650 attack because she's at talent level 9. She's a great user of the Cinder City set, which provides 40% elemental damage. She also provides a very small amount of healing, and at Constellation 2 she provides 30% attack. And at Constellation 5, this gives her 3 levels to her elemental burst, which means her max buff is now 810 attack. And at Constellation 6, she gives you 25% bonus damage for 3 seconds if you can overfill her Night Soul points. Speaking of overfilling her Night Soul points, her Constellation 4 helps out a bit with this, as if she overflows any Night Soul points over her max, she will gain 50% of that overflow the next time she restores Night Soul points during her elemental burst, which she restores once every second. And she'll also gain an additional 8 Night Soul points if you use the character's elemental burst after you use Yeon-sun's burst. This one's a bit complicated, but yeah, basically know that her Constellation 4 improves her Night Soul point regeneration. Let's take a quick look at how much she can buff. In this clip, we can see Yeon-sun, if she's the activator for Cinder City and able to maintain her buff, which is essentially one of her ideal circumstances. Yeon-sun at Constellation 0 is able to buff Verissa about as much as a Noblesse Oblige Constellation 5 Bennett with the Sapwood Blade, with both of them in this case buffing Verissa by around 42%. This is actually very impressive considering we're talking about a Constellation 5 Bennett here. Now this next clip is what if we start adding some of Yeon-sun's constellations. This jumps to a 55% buff, and with Constellation 5's 120 additional flat attack, as well as Constellation 6's 25% bonus damage,
You want to try deadlifting that?
You're just saying the same phrase over and over and over again.
Rev the engines!
Don't like that.
Coach will take it from here. Quick as a flash.
Fucking great.
Yeah. This one is. Let's ride. Try and stop me. Incinerate!
Sweet dreams.
Stray clouds converge. Rev the engines.
The key to effective fitness training is sound methodology. Namely, gradual progression and science-backed nutrition.
Yeah. Scatter! Fiddlesticks.
Great.
Let's ride. Full throttle. Incinerate.
Tartness closing in.
Incinerate. Pyroclastic surge.
Quick as a flash. On my mark.
Here
Time to
you
test my upper
are.
arm strength.
Oh, that's funny.
Stay out of my way. Stay out of my way.
I guess next time I'm going to use that. Next time I come here.
Stronger.
Try and stop me.
Coach will take it from here.
What the fuck was that?
Wouldn't running be faster? Controlled breathing. Charge!
Okay, so I should jump
Keep pushing!
because
Let's
everything
rock.
improves.
Faster, stronger. Charge!
Stuff. He's already stunned. And the image.
Charge! Charge!
I suggested it went down, not just from the mode, but from the movement, so that I could stand and chill. Can I just take its chest? Doesn't make sense.
Hey, you want to try deadlifting that?
I want to say something different though. And okay.
Time to test my upper arm strength.
There we go, I can stand on top of it. Oh, so I needed to press it. Oh, that's nice.
Controlled breathing.
Also plenty. Fruits are indeed plenty. Sixteen out of 46.
burst level 10, and in this video she's providing 650 attack because she's a talent level 9. She's a great user of the Cinder City set, which provides 40% elemental damage. She also provides a very small amount of healing, and at Constellation 2 she provides 30% attack. And at Constellation 5, this gives her 3 levels to her elemental burst, which means her max buff is now 810 attack. And at Constellation 6, she gives you 25% bonus damage for 3 seconds if you can overfill her Night Soul points. Speaking of overfilling her Night Soul points, her Constellation 4 helps out a bit with this, as if she overflows any Night Soul points over her max, she will gain 50% of that overflow the next time she restores Night Soul points during her elemental burst, which she restores once every second. And she'll also gain an additional 8 Night Soul points if you use the character's elemental burst after you use Eonsan's burst. This one's a bit complicated, but yeah, basically know that her Constellation 4 improves her Night Soul point regeneration. Let's take a quick look at how much she can buff. In this clip, we can see Eonsan, if she's the activator for Cinder City and able to maintain her buff, which is essentially one of her ideal circumstances. Eonsan at Constellation 0 is able to buff Verissa about as much as a Noblesse Obliged Constellation 5 Bennett with the Sapwood Blade, with both of them in this case buffing Verissa by around 42%. This is actually very impressive considering we're talking about a Constellation 5 Bennett here. Now this next clip is what if we start adding some of Eonsan's constellations. This jumps to a 55% buff, and with Constellation 5's 120 additional flat attack, as well as Constellation 6's 25% bonus damage, now Verissa is doing around 74% more damage, which is, well, frankly, a lot. And for Verissa specifically, we can see that once you throw in some constellations, Eonsan, there's no competition between her and Bennett, and all Bennett can really offer at this point is more healing. Anyway, Eonsan's exact mechanics for generating Night Soul points don't matter too much, because ultimately the most important thing is how compatible are specific characters with Eonsan's buffs. That takes us to all 15 characters that I tested her with, and some of these tests I even redid at Constellation 6 because I am Eonsane. So I decided to pick 15 of the most popular attack scaling characters, with a few that I skipped due to what I think are reasonable reasons, like Yae Miko not wanting to be on field, and any self-respecting child player not using international is pretty crazy, not gonna lie. And quick disclaimer, the gameplay here is far from optimal, and this is just an initial test for compatibility. It's likely that tons of optimization will be discovered as time goes on, so please take this with a grain of salt, but I figured one guy's testing is better than no testing in terms of giving you all at least an introduction to what Eonsan can do and for who. There are a few things to keep in mind for this test. At Constellations 3 and below, we mainly care about whether she can stay above 42 Night Soul points. And at Constellation 6, we'll see if the team can fulfill its conditions, which are if the on-field character can overflow some of Eonsan's Night Soul points, so push her over the 54 max Night Soul points, and regularly to maintain that 25% bonus damage buff for Constellation 6. And lastly, my slime rating for each DPS plus Eonsan is ultimately my opinion, but I base it on compatibility while maintaining Eonsan's buff, whether Eonsan can utilize the Cinder City, whether the DPS can maintain Eonsan's Constellation 6 buff, and finally if there are any large sacrifices in terms of team building, so yeah, basically just my opinion. Finally, don't pay any attention to the actual damage being dealt, because I intentionally neutered some builds, and the builds on the media server just aren't good, so that way they won't kill the enemy too fast, and this is purely a test to see whether these characters can even maintain Eonsan's buff. Alright, let's go through all of these tests starting with Verissa. Now needless to say, Verissa is perfect compatibility with Eonsan because of her, plunge attacks, counting as moving both up and down. In this case, I actually didn't bother nerfing Verissa's build, so she easily took out the robot boss very, very quickly. Not a problem. Perfect synergy, both Cinder City and both with Night Soul points generation. And the next character is Mavuika, and this time in a melt team, but without, for example, Shilinen. Instead, we've kind of replaced Shilinen with Eonsan, and not a problem. She will be able to keep Eonsan capped out at 54 points, even at Constellation 0. Eonsan throughout the entire fight, or as long as you kind of do some donuts or perhaps, you know, some dash attack strings. The next character is Kanish. You know, I already kind of went over this in my last Yansan video. Needless to say, Yansan's working really well with the attack scalers from Natlin, Kanish included, being able to, you know, move a ton during his, you know, Night Soul burst thing where he swivels left and right and here and there, so able to cap out the buff. Now, next character is Gaming. We're reaching some non-Natlin DPS characters where also Yansan's Night Soul generation is a bit worse for them. Unfortunately for Gaming, he is a plunge attacker, and you can even weave in some dashes here to actually travel more. But even without that, he's able to maintain Yansan's buff, and I think with a few more optimizations, he can definitely overcap it pretty easily for Constellation 6. Now, this next team is Chaska, who unsurprisingly also works quite well. And funny thing about Chaska though, is that you actually, you know, when I use Chaska, I often don't really move much at all. I just kind of like stay in one place aiming. But in this case, you can just kind of scoot around the enemy or wherever and bend circle. You can move left and right if you want. Bot just left and right, and you'll be able to maintain her buff like that. And the next character though is Xiao, and Xiao is interesting because even though he does maintain Yansan's Night Soul points at max pretty effortlessly, the bigger issue is who Yansan is replacing, and the issue is that Yansan cannot trigger Swirl and thus cannot proc the Cinder City. However, Yansan can buff, for example, Farina's damage on that team if that's something you want to do. Now the next character is Ayaka, and Yansan actually works decently well with Ayaka. And this applies to all characters that can really snapshot their damage, like even Xiangling or Fischl, for example. But basically, because Ayaka's damage is so front-loaded, she's able, even though she can't maintain the buff, you know, like almost none of her damage output comes from her like charge attacks and whatever. It's almost all in the initial elemental burst, which she snapshots Yansan's burst just fine. So the next character is Hu Tao, and Hu Tao actually surprised me a bit. I was expecting her to not be able to maintain it that well, but I guess in hindsight, because Hu Tao dashes forward with her charge attack and she even jump cancels while she's at it, making her you know, actually quite efficient for maintaining Yansan's Night Soul burst. But the bigger issue is that Yansan doesn't buff pyro damage with the Cinder City, so you're better off, I guess, just buffing the double hydro damage with like Xingqiu and Yilan with the Cinder City instead, which works just fine. And the next character we have is Arlecchino. So Arlecchino more so has, I guess, a bit of a team building issue because you really have to replace Yansan or Bennett with Yansan, and Bennett, you know, he's just really good with pyro characters, but one major benefit of Yansan is obviously you're able to stay out of circle impact. But we can see here that the buff is dipping in and out, and we're able to keep it up for most of Arlecchino's infusion time, but not perfect. And with Constellation 6, because I want to revisit this for Arlecchino specifically, because maybe Yansan's Constellation 4 will make a big difference. And in this case, I would say it made a difference in terms of, like, for example, how much uptime you have on the max buff, but definitely not able to maintain Yansan's Constellation 6 buff. And one interesting thing is that you do want to kind of dash backwards with Arlecchino because she has decent forward momentum with her N1. So I was doing N3, kind of dash back, and then, you know, she kind of pokes back forward with her N1 here. So not the best synergy with Arlecchino, but decent, and I do think you will do noticeably less damage than with Bennett. However, you are free from circle impact, and it's just another option if you do need Bennett for the other team. Now, the next character is Clorond, and Clorond, upon initial, you know, impressions, you would think that she'd do really well, but actually she's basically standing still while she's doing the 3 shots before every skill. And yeah, we can see here that it's pretty when it comes to maintaining Yansan's buff, and I did decide to revisit this at Constellation 6 as well to see if her Constellation 4 would help. Okay, it did help maintain the regular buff, so maintain over 42 Night Soul points, but Clorond doesn't seem to be able to overfill Yansan very easily, at least not for a substantial portion of the rotation. But hey, maybe with some other min-maxing here and there, somehow you are able to do it. Now, next we have Wriothesley, who you're gonna have to forgive my gameplay because I haven't used Constellation 0 Wriothesley in, I don't know, like a year now, whenever he was released. So yeah, anyway, it's okay, but not great. So I revisited it with Constellation 6, and it was much better with Constellation 6 because you're able to kind of change your rotations, and Mavuika is able to kind of help out there as well. Thanks to her Night Soul points helping generate for Yan-san. And there might be a couple moments here. It's a little hard to tell whether we were able to overfill Wriothesley or not. My initial impressions is I think we did have some uptime for that. Definitely a reasonable Bennett alternative, or I guess, you know, you can use her with Bennett as well. Next character is Tignari, and I figured even though he's more elemental mastery scaling, I figured I'd include it because the Cinder City is decent and he is one of the, I guess, top-ish, you know, attack scaling DPS characters. So for the first 3 charge shots, it does look like we're able to maintain over 42%, but it definitely drops off a cliff after that. Now, the next character is Wander, and at this point, I was really starting to run out of juice, so I couldn't bother testing with every single Constellation 6, every single team with Constellation 6 as well, but unfortunately, he's definitely falling far behind. In this team, I was using the Noblesse Oblige, although you can use the, for example, Cinder City to buff like Furina or Yelan's damage, or I guess Mavuika's damage if you have her on the team. But it's definitely a bit iffy there because, yeah, unfortunately, you can't swirl, so you can't activate the animal buff on Cinder City for Wander. Now, the next character is the Raiden Shogun, and unfortunately, it appears that the Raiden Shogun has been skipping gym class. I think all she does is sit around in some funky area where no one really is. So she doesn't really move much, and on top of that, she actually stands still at the beginning of her burst for quite a while. So that means that you're definitely going to struggle when it comes to generating Night Soul points for Yan-san with the Raiden Shogun, which isn't great. But at least you can trigger the Cinder City, and perhaps I'm not using her the best to optimize for that. Now the next character is Alhaitham. Alhaitham, I guess, wouldn't really want to run Yan-san, even though he is highly mobile, because what you can actually do, even though I think you lose 1 mirror by doing that, but you can do his elemental skill into the air into a plunge attack to get some major movement in order to actually kind of cap out Yan-san's Night Soul points. However, the issue is that you are sacrificing Kuki Shinobu for this slot, and Kuki, well, you know, she also deals Hyper Bloom, or she does Hyper Bloom, which makes a huge difference, and you do kind of have to choose. You have some opportunity costs. So in this case, we played a pure aggravate team, which is okay, but overall Hyper Bloom for Constellation 0, Alhaitham tends to be the better choice. And finally, we have Navia, who is perhaps one of the last popular attack scaling characters on this list, and unfortunately, unless you use her in a plunge team, which a plunge team obviously will have no issue maintaining the stacks, but outside of the plunge team, it's not looking so good. You can see that Yan-san's Night Soul points are very low, but the good news is that you can front load at least 1 elemental skill while Yan-san's points are maxed, and for that matter, while her Constellation 6 is active. So let's take a look at a few additional parameters for Yan-san. Now this chart here we can see is what combat attack stat does she need in order to max out the flat attack buff that she provides to her teammate. And for example, here she would need 3,000 attack in order to actually cap out at level 13, assuming you have her Constellation 5. That is your attack stat after all the various attack buffs have happened in combat. And, you know, for example, that includes Yan-san's kick, which gives her 20%. This includes any Noblesse buffs that might have happened, as well as, for example, Chevreuse, which gives up to 40%. So yeah, I'll show you guys how to check that in a bit, but I kind of went on the tangent here. You can see here, these are the buffs that Yan-san provides. And there we go, I had to fix a few typos there in the chart, but yeah, that's that. And now this is what we actually just went through. And this is actually what we just went through in terms of all the showcases for all the different characters. You can just see these are kind of my opinions and initial observations for the DPS characters that I tested her with. In Ayaka's case, I guess I didn't really mention that, yeah, I could basically just snapshots it, making her a decent recipient of it, all things considered. And we have some other ones, you know, whether they're in great shape or not so great shape. And for Arlecchino, since the test didn't really change much between Constellation 4 minus Yan-san and Constellation 4 plus, you know, I didn't include 2 rows for it. So you can see here for Cloron as well as for Wriothesley, at least I felt like I noticed an improvement to their fitness rating here. And yeah, so maybe hopefully this chart will be helpful. And the next chart that I have here is the Kickulator. So this serves two purposes: whether or not you need to perform Yeon-san's kick to give her 20% attack buff, and as well how much your characters will actually be buffed by Yeon-san if you're reaching those targets or not. Let's take a quick look at this chart. This is Yeon-san's attack stat out of combat. So we're not in combat right now. You can see that my current Yeon-san's attack stat is at 2,498. So we'll just punch that right in. Check her base attack, which is this number right here, 822. And now we input Yeon-san's Q talent level, which is 12. And we will be using Yeon-san's kick. And we don't have Noblesse Oblige, we don't have Tenacity, we don't have Chevreus's HP, which if you do have Chevreuse, you can put in, like, for example, 37,000. You can see this number go up. But in this case, we don't have Chevreuse HP. So yeah, and we don't have any other attack buffs that are specific to Yeon-san, which can happen, like, for example, passing her a TDO DS buff or something like that. And over here, we can see now that this is the anticipated attack buff for Yeon-san. She should be providing 718, which unfortunately is short of the 770. So next, let's actually take a look at the receiver's attack. In this case, we have Verissa at 2,240. So we'll punch that in. And Verissa's base attack is 1031, which we'll type right here. And finally, Verissa's Night Soul Burst gives her 35%. Normally it's at 0, but you can, in this case, put it at 35% for Verissa. And Verissa's attack after the buff should be 3,319, assuming I did everything right in this chart. So let's head on over to our Dorito friend and go ahead and do this. And we're gonna do Yeon-san kick. Now switch over to Verissa, and we can see her attack now after Yeon-san's buff.
Quick as a flash.
Oh, actually, we also have Yeon-san's Constellation 2, which provides 30% attack, so we're gonna have to punch that in too, but it's 3,990. And we also have 2 stacks on this passive because of her Night Soul Burst, as well as using Shilinen, so it is very easy to miss stuff.
Wow.
So plus 0.35 again. And there we go, just like that, 3,990. And that verifies, like, okay, it's one off because of rounding error, but you know, I can't really help that issue with the rounding error stuff. But yeah, so we can see that this does actually work if you are able to account for everything, including double Night Soul Burst. For, you know, you guys saw what I had to add here. Yeah, not sure why this the border here is like that. If any of you guys know how to fix that, let me know. Or alternatively, you can check right here very simply to see you can check Yeon-san's combat attack stat, which is here, 2,662. You just punch that in, and you can see that her buff that she provide is 770, which is short of the 770 max attack buff. Now, the absolute easiest way to actually check what Yeon-san's attack buff conversion is to literally just take the combat attack stat. So let's say you've done all your buffs and everything, and Yeon-san is off field. Then you just go and you just simply multiply it by 0.27. And when you multiply it in this specific example, it would be a 674.5 attack buff, which definitely falls short of the 770 max attack buff. So yeah, this spreadsheet will be down in the comments below. I know it's not perfect, but at the very least, maybe it can help you guys optimize your builds for Yeon-san a little bit. The reason why I like this sheet specifically is because I don't have to keep testing against the enemy and keep kicking them and doing all this stuff. I can just punch it in here, adjust some artifacts to see, and then punch it in here to check whether or not she maxes out this buff or not. And in this case, for this build, we're gonna have to increase her attack some way or another in order to max out that attack buff. So yeah, as we can see, Yeon-san's buffs in particular definitely add a lot of quality of life, increasing this burst. And one other thing I didn't mention is that her Constellation 6 also increases her burst duration by 3 seconds. And this is actually very helpful for certain rotations where you might want to use Yeon-san before another character, before your DPS character, because it allows you to kind of shift the rotation for more flexibility there. And we also have this Constellation 4, which obviously helps her generate Night Soul points. Although for characters that already can't maintain over 54 Night Soul points for Yeon-san, this thing just kind of delays the inevitable, at which point they will tend to lose more points than they can gain to maintain that, even though it is very helpful. And we have our Constellation 2 as 30% attack, and finally Constellation 1, which I actually forgot to mention until now. just basically helps her recover energy, making it a pretty good constellation, alleviating a lot of her energy requirement. So yeah, overall, Yansan is definitely a great side grade for Bennett, and hopefully this helped you guys at least get some idea of, you know, what to kind of expect with Yansan, as well as what kind of performance upgrades or whatever it might be you can kind of look forward to or not. Let me know what you think about all this, and if this video was helpful in any way. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is Evan Toulouse, signing out.
Faster, stronger. Charge!
Full throttle! Light of the blazing sun!
Skyward! Coach will take it from here. Think I need
Oh, come on.
a rest day.
Scatter! Skyward! Let's ride! Light it up! Seize the skies! Pyroclastic surge!
Right.
Controlled breathing.
Okay. Looks seem alright. Huh. Don't need more.
Quick as a flash. Charge!
That's alright, alright. Yo. Is that enough? Seems like it is. Adventures. So the story of, you know, the region doesn't have anything to do with this one. Side story. The worse the ley lines get, the more frequent it routes. It's the best time to try and get inside. Otherwise, cough. Poso. What a nice name. Purple.
Harder!
Hey, you want to try deadlifting that?
Nope. Why are you only talking about deadlifts? More critical R, please. Would you look at that? It's definitely some crit. The lowest amount, probably. But still.
Controlled breathing!
The fucker. I'm guessing to dodge. Oh, what an amazing sight. Chosen of Dragons. I think I will just beat the boat. Wait, there are the birds.
Yeah. Faster, stronger.
Burn it down!
Ah.
Yeah! Skyward! Fiddlesticks. Rise with the sun!
Quick as a flash.
Let's ride! Wrath from the skies! Rev the engines!
Coach will take it from here. Controlled breathing. Yeah.
Let's ride! Burn it down! Yeah!
Coach will take it from here. Quick as a flash.
Incinerate!
Finally!
Hey, you want to try deadlifting that?
Let's get some more stuff. Preferably even more. lot of you. Oh, that reminds me. Saw that previously. Yo. Hmm. There's still stuff to do. Mhm.
These could be salvaged for parts.
Dragons. Sorry, not now. That's some Xbox. Here we go.
Controlled breathing. Form first. On my mark. Back to the doctors for me.
Is this our fate?
Oh. Nice.
Danish schools have a unique way to grade their students. The best grade is 12, followed by 10, 7, 4, 0, 2, 00, and -3. Why? I'll say that again, possibly so you can take notes. Danish schools have a unique way to grade their students. The best grade is 12, followed by 10, 7, 4, 0, 2, 00, and -3. Why?
Now, Scott, you asked me. Sorry, why did I call you Scott? Sorry.
I don't know, it happens.
Good.
I don't know, it happens a lot, and also, for the longest time, I was Tom Scott. I'm just one of those people who gets referred to by both names far too often.
So, Tom Scott. No.
It's better than other Tom. I got that the other week on this podcast when Tom from Tom Rocks Maths was on.
You asked me a question at the start, Tom, about retaining facts. I know for a fact that I've asked the question, which country grades its students with 12, 10, 7, 4. I've asked that question. Did I look into why? I did not. I just went, oh, that's a great fact and so weird. And then I never looked into why. So I know this is true.
Yeah.
I've got a clue why.
I'm hung up on 0, 2. Why not 2?
And 00. Like a roulette wheel. Are we grading them on a roulette wheel? Today you've won nothing.
I'm wondering if it's not like similar to the finger gun situation, that it's not that it's actually these numbers, but it's like something that looks like them, or it's like the other way around where they grade by like, I don't know, Roman numeral or some other way of writing those numbers that does make more sense. When it's like all put together, potentially.
You're right that those individual numbers don't have like mathematical significance. It's not that 10, 7, 4, 0, like it's not like we're going down a scale that exactly corresponds to those
Quick as a
grades.
flash.
Because it goes to -3.
It does.
How did you do at school today? Well, I'd been better if I hadn't gone. I got 0. 12. Is it something that comes in a group of 12? Or is it a word for excellent? It's got 12 letters. No, because nothing's got -3 letters and nothing's got 0 letters. So it's not... I don't know, Tom!
Is this like a question to do with bases, different bases of counting?
No, there's no mathematical significance here.
Okay.
Is it the way? I mean, like, I'm trying to think as well because it's not which country was it? You said, Tom?
Denmark.
So if it is something in Danish, in the language of like what those numbers sound like in Danish, has some effect, or like what they, like anything to the letters in however you say it. Or I mean, they wouldn't, like the writing system wouldn't be different, but I'm thinking about like how those letters look on the page and if that has anything to do with it.
Yes, it does, Rowan. That's a good path to go down.
I don't have any pens in front of me. I'm like drawing on my hand.
I've written it down on a sheet of paper in front of me and
This realm is
I can't
truly
see a
beginning to thrive.
pattern. Of course, how do you write the number 7? I'm someone who does the standard 7 and then puts a line through it, which I think is quite a European way.
Yeah, I also put the line
I'm a
through.
big fan of that.
Bit of flair to our 7s, Dan.
You can't read any of my writing anyway, but it sort of distinguishes it.
I think you would want to do that in this case. I think you would want to put a line through that 7.
Or are they unique? Like, if you write this, you cannot mistake it for another one on the list.
Oh, okay, is this to do with like the kids turning an F into an A?
Keep going, Alec. Keep going.
Okay.
Sneaky little kids.
Okay, so this would be basically impossible to alter into another grade.
Yes, it would.
And so it's an anti-cheating measure, basically.
That's why it's O2, because if you just wrote 2...
Could be 7-ish.
It could be 12. It could be the top.
Oh, yeah, and put a 1.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely right.
It's like that font on European license plates.
Yes, so you can't turn one letter into another easily.
That was a fact I recently learned about how much of Europe there's private companies that produce license plates, and that feels so weirdly not European, because here it's the state that does that, and so it's a government thing, and it just feels so weird to me that the process of manufacturing license plates has been privatized.
I mean, in America, notoriously that's being done by prisoners, so I feel like you still...
Not always.
Yes.
That kind of feels like it's being good. But you do get the nice, like, pictures and patterns on yours. Our ones are just, like, a boring colour. There's a guy on TikTok who, his whole thing he does on TikTok is making license plates for countries as if they were like American license plates and figuring out like the iconic flora and fauna and the iconic like buildings that you would have.
Oh, that's lovely.
I'm like, that's what the internet should be about.
But they can't be read by our automated surveillance systems, so they can't be allowed.
Sadly.
Yes, this is a list specifically chosen to make it as hard as possible for students to alter the grades to make them look more flattering. So in theory, you can add a line to a 1 to make it a 7. You can close up the curve on a 6 to make it an 8. And yes, that leading 0 is there to stop a 2 becoming a 12. Absolutely right. Well done, everyone. You all scored 12 for that question.
Yay!
This tiny frame is what
The
my
lateral
genetics
book
gave
is
me.
out now.
All
Just
my
click on the link
strength
to
comes
get
from
your copy.
consistent training with good technique. Put in the same work, and you can absolutely get the same results.
Escoffier is the brand new Genshin Impact character coming to the game for version 5.5. And between her design and her kit, she is literally the most excited I've been for a Genshin Impact character in years. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So we're going to start by taking a look at all the information that Genshin gave us officially, and then we're going to go into some of the pre-release information to learn about what she does as a character and what teams and what units she is going to work best with. She's going to make Freeze really good. Finally, Escoffier, tasteful excellence, lead goose of precision gastronomy. What? For a long time, the Steambird's gourmet column has been known by food aficionados as a culinary weather vane. By the way, if I seem tired, because I am. We have a 2-week-old baby, along with a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. As a regular feature on this column, Escoffier, the ex-head chef of Hotel de Bord, and her precision gastronomy are all the more famed in Fontaine. In the process of analyzing, extracting, and harmonizing, she has not only deconstructed Fontanian views on flavor, but even their foundational cognition of tastiness. Thusly disassembled and reconstructed, the secret code constituting the sense of taste has been redefined in delicacy upon the very tips of their tongues. Critics have never been stingy with praise for this genius chef, but neither have they ever shied away from the controversies surrounding her. Escoffier's image is one meticulous in both the kitchen and its management has proved long-lasting, while her merciless critiques of both colleagues and apprentices have made her quite the hot topic in the culinary world. All right, so she's a chef, little bit more. The fairy of fondant felicity, the towering tyrant of taste. Oh, Escoffier is hardly the terror of the papers make her out to be. She simply loves cooking, and she can be a bit strict about it. Is it so surprising that she doesn't respect those who don't take cooking seriously? Don't worry, I just know you'll get along, like cinnamon and vanilla. Navia. Name Escoffier, title Tasteful Excellence, lead goose of precision gastronomy. Lead goose is wild. Vision, cryo, constellation, Dulceria structura. Dulceria, pepper and pine nut stuffed honey dates. And structura culinary systems. All right. So obviously she is Fontanian, which of course means that she has the second best design language in the game behind Inazuma, in my opinion. This is my opinion, it's okay. But as for her design, I love it. I love the color scheme. I love her eyes, the hair. I love the theming with the ice knives. I love the mostly white and then the pop of color. I love that she's not a blue cryo character. Not that a lot of them have been blue, have they? I guess I'm thinking of like Risley is not blue. Neither is Charlotte. It's like the Fontanian cryo characters are red. That's really interesting. Anyways, I don't know how popular this design will be. Like, I don't think that everyone will gravitate to her and think that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it really does it for me. So there you go. And finally, let's not forget that she has this really cool tail, kind of the devil's tail thing going on. Kind of reminds me of that one character from that one thing. Comment if you know what I mean. Looking at her kit, Escoffier has one of the most bonkers crazy kits that we have ever seen in Genshin. She puts most of the recent, well, not recent, she puts most of the kits we have in the game to absolute shame. So she is a cryo polearm. She is a sub DPS. So she does similar damage to Emily, Chiori, Yelan, Farina, etc. Okay? She heals. Team-wide burst, single target, skill. Similar to Baiju, I think? I haven't used Baiju in so long. I forget if his skill heals team-wide, but I think I won't, you know what, I won't put who it's similar to, but it heals team-wide with the burst and then single target with skill. Active character. It's enough to sustain Farina's stacks. What else do you need? So let's just say that we had this as a character. Let's just say we just had that. That's already pretty awesome. She has great cryo application once every 2 seconds. So just this, great cryo application once every 2 seconds, good for freeze, melt, etc. Just this, already hot. Like, this would already be like a pretty solid character. Not like meta breaking. I would already be reasonably excited for this, but the piece of resistance is she has a Chevra style passive for freeze, aka with only cryo and hydro units in the party, reduce hydro and cryo resistance by 55%, and then a little bit of resistance for 3 units, 2 units, and 1 cryo or hydro unit. This is the most overloaded kit that I have seen in a really, really long time. How do you have a character that does team-wide healing, insane sub DPS damage, and ridiculous support? This is supposed to be one of those triangles that it's like pick 2 of 3, and you're supposed to pick 2 of 3. That's what makes a good character. And they just said, well, give her everything. We'll just give her everything. This means she is going to be as close to a must pull as possible for anyone who wants to play basically cryo units. For hydro units, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, obviously, but she is going to be a highly recommended character for so many units. Like, if you want to play cryo units or you want to have more options for your hydro, this is your character. I've seen 100k DPS for Ayaka, 80k DPS for Ryo. Note that Ryo's will be more consistent. Like, he'll be more consistently able to get all of that 80k DPS, whereas Ayaka you know, she might not get all the ticks of her burst. This is nutty.
you
And the
ever feel
best
down,
part about her by
just drop
far, which I'm
everything
sure so
and go
many of
out
you
for
care
some
about, is that
fresh
she
air.
actually makes Shenhe good. Wow, in 2025, Shenhe is going to be meta. I doubt she'll stay meta. I bet we get other characters that outshine her, but the fact that Escoffier does so much personal damage, so Shenhe actually buffing her actually does something, right? Because Escoffier is actually doing personal damage, so you're building crit and stuff on her. Add to that the fact that she incentivizes running only Hydro and Cryo characters, meaning that you can run three Cryo characters on a team, or 4 if you don't want to run Farina, although right now we don't have very good off-field DPSs, so you wouldn't really want to run 4. But theoretically, if there was another off-field DPS, you could. So Shenhe is huge. I'm going to put her in S for Shenhe tier because Shenhe is saved. But she's going to be so good that, hey, maybe you can actually use your Kaya in a freeze team and it'll actually feel reasonably good. Obviously, he's just going to be carried by Escoffier, but hey, you love to see it. You love to see your favorite units get carried. Who else is going to work well with her? Obviously, we love to see Chong Yun doing more. It's going to be really exciting to see Ganyu be good in freeze teams. She does so much for freeze teams that theoretically, she will make the Ganyu freeze team better than her melt team, which is just crazy to say, and make it way more consistent. It'll be by far Ayaka's best team. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Eula's best team. You do Eula, Monocry. If only you could if you could infuse Eula's burst with cryo, or if you could not infuse her normal attacks, so you could use her with Bennett. I would accept either one. I prefer to be able to infuse her burst, but you can infuse her normal attacks with cryo. We'll do something like this. I know this could work, but it's just like, it's so stupid. Huge buff. I don't know whether to put Ayato here or here, but his teams are looking honestly not bad now, so we'll put him here. I don't know, great center. I don't even know how to order these. I think I'll just go with tiers, and it's not a big deal, right, what the tiers are named. If you don't have Shenhe for Escoffier teams, using Yelan is going to be a great option because she does great personal damage as well as giving a buff to your on-fielder. Won't work as well for something like Ganyu because she can't do normal attacks, but Kokomi, I'm gonna put Kokomi down here. I'm not gonna label her tier because Escoffier kind of replaces her on the team, right? Kokomi is a healer. Think about this. Kokomi just heals. That's all she does essentially, and provides some hydro application. Like, the fact that Escoffier has this kind of kit just shows that my last video about how to buff Genshin units should really happen. Characters like Kokomi need it bad. Cosmo's not a hydro or cryo unit, but you should still be able to do some stuff with Cosmo on the team. He still does a bunch of stuff, so he's still a solid option for Escoffier teams. Hu Tao, she should be a solid option for Hu Tao teams as well, because again, the kit is still so overloaded that she'll still do great stuff on a Hu Tao team. I wouldn't be surprised to try some melt stuff. Maybe she can be sort of like a bad Seat Lali and be an option for players who want to do melt, like melt Arlecchino, right? Because she has good cryo application, so maybe we can, and good sub DPS damage even if you're not getting the rest of the stuff. So I'm gonna try melt. And then on the teams that focus more on hydro, well, actually, let's make sure we get Farina in here first, and Novelette. So Farina and Novelette. I've seen some people saying that this is going to be Novelette's best in slot team, maybe for low investment Novelette, but if you have either his signature or his C1 or both, I would hesitate to say that Escoffier will be on his best team, just because maximizing his personal damage will be really big, and Escoffier, a reason why she might be considered on his best team would be her great personal damage. But the more you invest in your Novelette, the less relevant her personal damage is. Not that it won't be good, but I don't think it'll be his best team for a lot of players. A lot of people have his C1 or his weapon, or just really good artifacts, and so maximizing his own damage will be more important than having a sub DPS. Granted, she'll still be good, but I don't think it's necessarily a Novelette buff. It's another Novelette option, which is sort of a buff, right? But it's not like, it doesn't raise his power ceiling for dedicated Novelette mains, for example. And then Farina obviously she goes in the S for Shenhe tier, of course, because Farina's synergy with Escoffier is just absolutely perfect. She'll make Farina the best in slot for even more characters, or the characters that she was already best in slot, it'll be even more best in slot. Farina just got a massive buff. Fortunately, 97% of people, apparently, not obviously everyone, but of who reported data for the Spiral Abyss, have Farina. A lot of people have Farina, and hey, getting Escoffier will now allow you to run another archetype of really powerful teams with Farina. Seatlali might have some issues activating Scroll because you kind of want to use Escoffier first, and then for the second rotation on, there's going to be freeze already, and you need to have Seatlali activate a reaction with Hydro to activate Scroll, so it's going to be kind of awkward because you want to pass Little Tails to Ayaka and stuff like that. This might make her signature better. So the rotations and the synergies with Seatlali are a little suspect at the moment, but if you can get them to work, on paper they're looking very, very good and on par with the Shenhe team. Shenhe won't necessarily be best in slot if you can get Seatlali to work, because Seatlali also reduces, well, just because Seatlali just gives such a big pop. I don't think Mualani will work here. I'm gonna put her in question mark. I already don't like Seatlali in Mualani teams very much because the cryo application messes up Vapes and Escoffier applies even more cryo, so not a huge fan. Xingqiu, pretty good. He doesn't do as much personal damage as Yulan. You already have tons of healing, so shouldn't need, but need his defensive utility, but he still will be quite a strong synergy. Barbara, useless. Child, useless. Mona, I could see Mona being a pretty interesting character. We'll try it out. Maybe he's like a Farina substitute. If you don't have Farina, she at least has Thrilling Chaos. I don't see Candace being super good. Siegewein is absolutely dead. This is kind of like this. This is not for Diona overall, just on a Escoffier team. This is not like, yeah, this is not their overall place in the meta now. Just for a Escoffier team. Actually, Child might be pretty good. I'm just joking around. Child. You know I like to joke with Child names, right? I'm just joking. I could see Layla being pretty decent. And then of course Hydro Traveler is looking pretty good here, right? We're just gonna forget about Hydro Traveler. Oh, and Risley. I've been talking about Risley, but I haven't found him on the list, so now I found him, and he's gonna be incredible. I'm not sure if I should put Ayato here or here. Because it makes it look better, I'm gonna put him here. Because he's already... I just don't want to give the wrong impression that he's amazing. Well, it's like, if it's how good she is for Ayato, it's here. If it's how good Ayato is for her teams, it's like here. So, we'll see. So, you can see why I'm super excited by Escoffier. Of course, she makes some already meta characters even better, but it's not what normally happens with really good supports. Lately, it feels like really good supports have just made the good characters even better, but now we're getting a character that brings up forgotten units. I know some people are calling for nerfs for Escoffier. They think she's just too strong, that she's too overloaded. I do not agree. Yes, her individual kit is overloaded, but she doesn't break the game for any of the current meta characters. So there's no power creep issues, and she brings up the power level of forgotten units like these three and like these four to an actual respectable level that's on par with the current expectations for DPSs in the game. So I think she is a perfectly, masterfully, brilliantly designed unit, and I do not think she should get nerfs at all. I think she's going to be perfect as she is. And of course, on top of all of this, buffing all these older characters, there's new characters. At this point, Skirk is essentially confirmed to be a cryo character, and we've got the cryo region coming up next. That should be the next Archon, whether something with Nod Kral or actual Shiniznaya. Cryo is about to be the new focus. So Escoffier seems like she's going to be a big part of that. So if you think you're going to be investing in cryo in the future, it might be wise to consider saving some primos for Escoffier. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe. And her kit, she is literally the most excited I've been for a Genshin Impact character in years. Escoffier is the brand new Genshin Impact character coming to the game for version 5.5. And between her design...
Wait, she's gonna release... the next patch. Right?
What is actually going on with Genshin's English voice actors? This isn't my usual kind of topic, but after months of being generally supportive of the strike but a little unaware of the details, this week's events finally pushed me to find the time to dive in. This has now consumed my life for the past several days, as I've made a point to go to the original source for everything. The situation has escalated globally, to the point where the player base and actors alike are turning on each other, and things are starting to take a really nasty turn. There's a lot of misinformation being spread, and it can be difficult to get a clear picture of what's really going on. Like many, for over a year I saw the surface level discussions and explainers and understood that the strike was just about protections against the use of generative AI and the actors demanding to be paid a fair wage for their work. Both, in my opinion, are important topics and reasonable requests. The studio acting as the middleman between Hoyer and the voice actors were painted as the bad guys. After all, they have an awful track record on previous controversies and were refusing to sign a simple contract which would protect their talent from the end of the voice acting industry as we know it. And Hoyer was seen as avoiding the opportunity to step in and protect the people who do so much to bring their characters to life. Typical greedy corporations, right? Unfortunately, that was just the beginning. The whole issue first came to my attention in September 2023. A vote amongst members of the American Screen Actors Guild, commonly called SAG-AFTRA, granted the union strike authorization in preparation for the next round of negotiations with the union's bargaining partners, signaling that the actors would withdraw their services from the industry at large if an agreement was not reached. Several prominent companies are involved in the negotiations, such as Activision, Electronic Arts, Insomniac, and so on, and one on the list was Formosa Interactive, the studio which handled much of Genshin's English voiceover, amongst other high-profile games. I only looked into the basics at that point, and what I saw made it pretty clear which side was right. It was the latest round in the long fight against hostile use of generative AI in video games, which has been rumbling on in the background for years. Existing contracts were not written with AI in mind. It could be argued that they granted game studios the right to use old recordings of actors' voices and likenesses to train AI models and generate new lines without consent or compensation. This was unacceptable. Actors could lose control over how their voice and face were used in future releases and would be paid nothing beyond their original contracted fees. Even the most free market-minded proponents of AI would be hard-pressed to argue that a person's face and voice should be free to use by large corporations just because they recorded some lines for them at some point in the past. People deserve to be paid for their work. SAG-AFTRA made some very reasonable demands: explicit consent from the actor prior to AI voice replication, fair compensation for any AI-generated performances based on an actor's voice, transparency from studios about when and how AI would be used, and protections against use of prior performances as training data without additional pay. All of that seemed obviously in the right to me. Using someone's voice without their consent is just a no. People deserve to be paid. Of course, companies will always try to find a way to cut corners and weasel out of paying people what they deserve, but that's why unions in general are such an essential part of the fabric of the world. They're one of the few ways that people can collectively bargain, assert their rights, and say no to exploitation. As much as it would be sad for quests in the games I play to be unvoiced during any potential strike, the thought of a future with stolen AI voices ruining the art of video games was a bleak one, so I 100% supported the union's stated intent. Negotiations remained at a stalemate, so the strike began in July 2024. Genshin's voice lines are, of course, recorded months in advance, so at first it had no noticeable effect. But by October, the main Archon quest began to be affected, and several prominent characters were left unvoiced. Over the following months, many people came into my chat and asked why there were voices missing from the game. Every time, my community and I would explain the situation to the best of our ability and talk through why we support the strike even though it was affecting the game we enjoy. After a little while, there were some good signs. Formosa was rumored to have been dropped by Hoyer. There was no official confirmation at the time, but eventually another recording studio called Side Global announced that they would be providing voice production to Genshin. And since that studio has signed onto the interim agreement, which features explicit AI protections, it seemed that the strike would finally be over, when it came to Genshin at least. Sadly, it was not even close. The strike continued, and as fans, we got no insight into what was happening behind the scenes. People hoped that the studio switch was the light at the end of the tunnel, and that once things got back up and running, everything would return to normal. However, it turns out that the strikes are not just aimed at the specific companies the union originally named, so changing studios didn't make much of a difference. It's particularly complicated in Genshin's case, so more on that later. Skip forward a couple of months, and in March it came out that Kinich had been recast, which finally prompted me to take a closer look. I read the original voice actor's statement, then the one from the new voice actor, and was surprised to see the onslaught of hate that the new actor was receiving. Many fans felt the backlash was unwarranted, and the entire community quickly devolved into mudslinging and uproar. I felt bad for the old actor for losing his job, and for the new one dealing with all the dogpiling, so I really needed to understand what was going on. Why weren't the negotiations moving forwards? Why was this one voice replaced? Was the replacement actually crossing the picket lines, or was there some other explanation. And who was at fault for all this? The discussions were filled with unfamiliar terms like Taft-Hartley, FICO, and scab, and half of what people were saying seemed like misinformation. Time to go digging. The first thing which seemed very confusing was a detail in the statement posted by Kenichi's original voice actor. He asserted that Hoyo was refusing to offer AI protections by signing the SAG-AFTRA agreement, which seemed completely at odds with two important facts. First, while Formosa was one of the parties in the negotiation who are refusing to agree to AI protections, to get around that, Hoyo had signed with Site Global, a company which has signed up to the interim agreement, which does provide those protections. And second, Chinese law already has AI protections for voiceovers. Way back in April 2024, the Beijing Internet Court ruled that AI-generated voices should be covered by the copyright and personality rights of the voice actor. At a surface level, those laws seem very similar to the protections SAG-AFTRA are asking for. So why were Hoyo being asked to sign it in the first place when they weren't the target of the strike? And why would Hoyo refuse to sign a contract which states they need to do something which they already need to do by law? While we can't know for certain, there's a lot of speculation based on publicly available sample documents put out by SAG-AFTRA and some guidance documents they have also produced. So, of course, I got to reading. First, what do SAG-AFTRA claim are the points of contention in the contract negotiations? On their page detailing the strike, they say that while they have found some common ground, there are multiple key areas where the employer's proposals are filled with loopholes, while the language the union wants is transparent and enforceable. They link to this document, which shows the different language proposed by each side, both in legalese and in plain language for both sides. Having read through it, I have to agree with the union's perspective on the points listed in the doc. I highly recommend reading it for yourself. It's not all that long, and with the plain language explanations, it's easy to see that the points they're making are objective and highlight clear issues which should be resolved. In summary, the language they're proposing defines clear boundaries and covers eventualities with explicit and clear terms, while the employer's proposal avoids these things and leaves scope for exploitation. But from what I can gather, these are exactly the kinds of protections which Hoyo are already legally obligated to provide. I totally believe that the American corporations are pushing for the inclusion of these loopholes, but it seems weird to suggest that this is the sticking point preventing Hoyo from signing given those two important facts I mentioned earlier. Instead, many people speculated that the actual problem is a little deeper in the sample contract intended for projects like Genshin, called the Independent Interactive Localization Agreement. Section 6 of the ILA sample is called Union Security and asserts that the employer will only employ members of SAG-AFTRA and will be subject to fines and arbitration if they employ any performer who is not a member of the union. That is clearly a big deal. However, there are a couple of caveats to it. The first is the Taft-Hartley Act. This is an American law passed in 1947 intended to restrict the power of unions and protect employer rights, one aspect of which was to prohibit closed shops where only union members could be hired. Under this law, the union must provide a process which allows non-union actors to take part in the project. For a union project to hire a non-union actor, they need to notify the union in writing. If approved, this allows the actor to work that role for 30 days. After the 30 days, plus potentially some additional 30-day extensions, the union now classifies them as must join, and in order to continue the job, they would be obligated to join the union. Note that an actor only has this one exemption available in their entire career, with some rare exceptions, and after they've used them up, they must either join the union or never work a union project again. And it's worth noting that the union fees are expensive. Their annual dues aren't too bad. They have a base amount of just over $200 plus a small percentage of covered earnings. But the joining fee is $3,000. The union offers loans to spread the cost of the joining fee over the course of a couple of years, of course, but that's an amount that many people would not be able to dispose of lightly. The second caveat is the possibility of waivers. The union has stated that for non-union actors already working a role in one of these projects, they will negotiate a waiver for the must-join status to allow them to continue in their role. However, this still feels very uncomfortable. The union is essentially asking the game developer to hand over the right to determine whether their existing actors are allowed to remain in their job and just trust that they won't change their minds. This is a line I always draw during contract negotiations. If the other party says I can trust them to do something, then they should be comfortable setting that forth in writing. If they want its scope to be limited, then that's fair enough, but commitment and transparency is vital, and a refusal to be specific here is not a good look. Despite these two caveats, it's hard to see any reasonable argument that this section of the contract does not constitute a closed shop policy. For ongoing hiring, any project which signs up to it would, to all intents and purposes, only be allowed to hire members of SAG-AFTRA in the long term. I've seen many members of the union state that this is a good thing, since it ensures that the union has true leverage and is able to actually make a difference. They claim that if this were not the case, nobody would join the union and all the protections it provides would become financially unsustainable. As a European, this seems like a really odd take. Over here, in most countries, closed shops are actually illegal, and loopholes like this, which create a closed shop in all but name, would not be tolerated. People want the freedom to choose whether or not they want to be part of a union, regardless of whether they want to work at any particular job. Those two decisions are supposed to be separate. There are many reasons that closed shops are problematic, including issues like limited employment opportunities, high fees, reduced flexibility, bureaucracy, and so on, many of which seem to be hinted at in this situation to us outside observers. And yet, unions are still a thing over here. People still join and pay their dues, even though those who don't join are still able to work the same jobs and reap the same benefits. If anything, the unions are stronger in Europe. And honestly, having looked deeper into SAG-AFTRA, I've never seen a more un-union-like union in my life. It's also important to note that it is in the union's best interest for non-union members to be covered by the same protections. For the industry to survive, AI protections must become an industry standard, since otherwise developers may just decide to contract with basically anyone who will let them use their voice to train AI without providing proper compensation. If you're unconvinced, consider if, for example, the union were to amend this requirement to allow up to a certain percentage of people working on any given project to be fully exempt from any union requirements. We could debate what percentage would be appropriate, but even if the union only spoke for a significant slice of the workforce, its ability to effect change would still be a force to be reckoned with. Obviously, the US legal landscape is a totally different world. But Hoyo is not an American company. While even if they did become a signatory, they would still be able to hire non-union actors from outside of the US. Clearly, they are not interested in directly hiring people within the US and would prefer to work through signatory intermediaries like Side Global. Asking them to become a union signatory just does not make any sense from an outside perspective, regardless of how you feel about the pros and cons of the union itself. There are even some corrections shared from the Chinese community that claim that Hoyo might not legally be able to sign the contract with SAG-AFTRA in the first place, because every union active in China must be affiliated with the All China Federation of Trade Unions. If that's true, then they may not even have a choice. The most frustrating part of all of this is that these legitimate questions are not being answered by anyone involved, so we can only speculate. Yet the people who could explain are pointedly ignoring the questions or even insulting people just for having the nerve to ask for clarification. Before we get back to the dumpster fire that started this all off, there are a couple of other quirks which are worth taking a look at. First, why didn't switching studios make a difference? Genshin is not a union project. Hoyo have never signed a contract with SAG-AFTRA, and they work with a wide variety of voice actors from across the world. Turns out that, technically speaking, any member of the union who was previously working with Genshin was breaking the global Rule 1 of the union. They're explicitly not allowed to work non-union projects, and they risk fines or expulsion if they do. The union generally turned a blind eye to this, at least partly because they didn't consider video game voice acting to be important, but it seems that may have changed. This also means that Genshin was never a direct target of the strike. However, during strike action, the union is much stricter about enforcing the rules, and actors are under much greater scrutiny. Now that Hoyo are partnered with Side Global, who have signed the interim agreement, and therefore who can record union actors, it's unclear why many actors are unable to return, and why they are calling for Hoyo themselves to become signatories. Second, how is it that some of the union voice actors are returning while others are still on strike? There are actually two tiers of union membership, full membership and something called FICOR. Both pay the dues, but FICOR members opt out of receiving many of the benefits of the union, and in exchange they are allowed to work both union and non-union jobs, including any which are struck. The union does discourage this practice and considers FICOR actors dues-paying non-members and scabs, and there is stigma against actors who follow this path. We have no way to know which actors are FICO and which are not, but this may explain why some are willing to return now that Hoyo are working with a studio which has signed up for AI protections. So, why are some roles getting recast? As a non-union project, this entire time, Hoyo would have been perfectly within their rights to recast any union actors. The fact that they haven't is quite telling. They clearly want to continue working with their existing actors. That may be due to a fear of community backlash, or it may be for other reasons, but it's undeniable that they have been very patient. I am not one to champion multi-billion-dollar corporations, but painting them as the villain in this situation feels like misdirection. It's unlikely that they are interested in becoming a union project for all the various reasons outlined previously, but at the same time, it would be a risky move to recast a role held by a union actor, especially if it were a long-standing and beloved character. Instead, unless I'm mistaken here, because it's hard to figure out the unions that we've any given person, they have replaced a handful of actors across their games who have been striking, but who aren't SAG-AFTRA members. These actors were striking in solidarity, perhaps without realizing that if the union gets what they want, their continued employment would be at the mercy of the union's bureaucracy. Hoyo probably felt that replacing them was a much lower risk because the union does not care about them at all, and doing so let them gauge their fans' reactions without igniting the ire of all the union actors. Kenichi in particular was only voiced for a single patch, so the relationship there was, unfortunately, even more tenuous. It absolutely sucks that anyone lost their job to this. It sucks that someone trying to do the right thing and support their colleagues paid the price. I hope that this will end up as just a minor blip in his long and successful career. It's difficult to draw conclusions when we don't know the exact details of what's happening behind closed doors, and it's certainly possible that the actual sticking points for Hoyo specifically are something entirely different to what we've talked about here. However, I can't help but feel that solidarity strikes are misguided. The strike is, supposedly, about AI protections. Hoyo are based in a country with AI protections enshrined in law, and they're now hiring English VAs through a company who require AI protections in their contracts. Maybe there are concerns with the specifics of those protections, but that remains a different issue to the terms being negotiated by the American corporations. Since Hoyo are not actually doing the thing that the strike is supposedly aimed to prevent, wouldn't it make more sense for a non-union voice actor to compare the protections Hoyo currently commit to with the stated goals of the strike, rather than just waiting for the union to get everything it's asking for? If the AI protections are robust, then Hoyo have done the right thing, and there would arguably be no reason to continue the strike on that particular project. Crossing the picket line is a fraught and dangerous decision which undercuts the collective power of the people. But when it comes to Genshin, there seems to be legitimate questions as to whether there is a picket line there in the first place. If someone were to make it clear that they're only comfortable going back to work because not only is the project not struck in the first place, the new contract does provide the protections that the strike is requesting, then it would be hard to sympathize with people who remain offended. Which brings us to the dumpster fire that is the community right now. For this part of the discussion, we need to introduce the term scab. A scab in this context is someone who works during a strike, either by crossing the picket line or by outright replacing a striking worker. Scabs are controversial figures because they are workers who are not aligned with others who are fighting for their rights. Being labeled as a scab can be serious harm to an actor's career, since they instantly become unpopular with union colleagues, and their chances of getting union jobs in the future are much lower. When it came to Kenichi's new voice actor, many union actors taking part in the strike were extremely offended and attacked them vocally in public. Ignoring the vitriol, I can see both sides here. On the one hand, someone breaking a strike by taking someone else's job is not something anyone who works for a living should be happy to see. The AI protections the union are requesting are clear and reasonable and essential if we want the industry to survive. But on the other, this was a job which was explicitly not covered by the strike for a role previously taken by a non-union actor for a company based on a completely different continent. The person who took the job lives in Japan and claims they weren't even aware of the strike. There's a high chance he didn't even know what role he was auditioning for until he got the job, and it seems unlikely that he would be told why the previous actor was leaving. Regardless of his knowledge of the strike, I would be unsurprised if the first time he knew what actually happened was when he posted his announcement and saw the hate flood in. Furthermore, while I sympathize with the anger of the VA seeing one of their colleagues ousted, I honestly felt ill watching it all unfold. People with large followings ganging up on one person publicly instead of at least trying to reach out privately first to find out more about the situation. There are further reasons to see their vocal witch hunt as very misguided. Several existing voice actors are also arguably crossing the picket lines themselves, so depending on their union status, they might actually be breaking the strike. This includes some who are central to the witch hunt against the new VA. Taking a role from another VA is obviously more severe than someone working in an existing role in violation of the strike, if the new actor knew the circumstances. But either way, it's a bad look for the community to be dogpiling on the new guy while ignoring others in their midst who are committing a similar sin in full knowledge of the situation. On the other hand, the people defending the new VA also took it way too far, slinging hate and allegedly even death threats at those who were angry. This whole situation is just awful, and very few have handled it with any semblance of professionalism. I thought we could expect better from the VA community. So where will things go from here? There are a few possible outcomes, and it may even be completely new voice in the conversation which has the last word. According to some discussions, this whole situation has gone down in the Chinese community like a lead balloon, and the players there are very angry at the way SAG-AFTRA and the Union VAs are treating Hoyoverse. Supposedly, many of the players are threatening to drop the game entirely if Hoyo don't recast those roles, and may have already uninstalled the game in protest, and we all know just how much Hoyo tends to listen to the whims of its Chinese player base. If they get their way, then we might see a very quick pivot on the part of Hoyo. If they don't, then there are a few main possibilities. First, a long-term stalemate, where the current situation just drags on for years. In this scenario, non-union VAs would remain unaffected, and FICOR members would probably return over time as dictated by their personal financial situations and perspectives on the strike, while full members would end up with a stark choice. Either make the switch to FICOR, go back to work and risk their union membership, or accept that they will never return. Second, the strike could end without an agreement signed with Hoyoverse specifically. This would be possible if the companies which are explicitly being struck were to sign the agreements. For example, there's two different takes on this scenario. If SAG-AFTRA decide that video game voice acting really is a small fry from their perspective and go back to not caring, things would return to how they were before the strike began. If they don't, and they continue to pay attention, then, since the game would remain non-union, the union actors would be forced to make the same choice between losing their job and becoming FICOR or leaving the union. Third, the strike could succeed with Hoyoverse signing up as a union project, presumably for the English voiceover only. Here, union VAs would be happy, but non-union VAs would just have to hope that the union would let them keep their jobs, and future roles would be closed shop in all but name, limited to people who are able and willing to pay into SAG-AFTRA. And finally, the union could compromise on their union security clause. They could follow the norm in much of the rest of the world and allow union jobs to hire non-union workers. In this situation, everybody wins. Union VAs would return, non-union VAs would be unaffected, and future hires would be able to choose between joining the union or remaining independent. I would like to believe in unions. I am firmly against the use of generative AI to replace real artists and actors. I'm fully behind the fight for fair compensation and informed consent. But there's so much here which seems concerning, and much of the behavior I've seen is so disappointing. If you care about this subject at all, don't take anyone else's word for it. Don't take my word for it. I'm sure there are things I've missed or misunderstood, and the same will go for anyone. Read the documents with an open mind and try to see all sides. And no matter where you end up on the spectrum of perspectives, don't send hate and death threats. We should all be better than that. Until next time.
Think I need a rest day.
Time to relax.
Control breathing.
Let's ride.
Phew.
Okay, let's just fucking close the game for now. I have another game to play.
Aoife is the brand new Animo 4-star coming to Genshin Impact 4 version 5.6. And although I really like his design, and I'm excited for a lot of you that have been waiting for more tall male characters, unfortunately he is a 4-star, and even worse, his kit is so uninspired that I wish it was an April Fool.
С 1 апреля стартует первая призывная кампания в этом году. Военкоматам поставили цель найти рекордные 160...
When I was 15, the thought of an apocalypse never troubled me. The only thing I couldn't give up, even in the face of the world's end, was the sunset on that beach. Watching the sun gently slide into the water's embrace.
50 тысяч призывников. Таких чисел мы не видели последние 10 лет. Более того, война заставила государство серьезно пересмотреть закон о военной службе по призыву, обратить внимание на имеющиеся проблемы и лазейки. Чуть ли не каждые полгода появляются разные инициативы, которые сильно сокращают легальные возможности избежать призыва. Я думаю, моим зрителям не нужно объяснять, что в российскую армию сейчас попадать нельзя никаким образом. Это опасно для жизни, можно покалечиться, погибнуть или самому кого-нибудь убить. И хотя срочников напрямую в бой сразу вроде бы пока не посылают, вряд ли удастся выстоять целый год, в который на вас будут постоянно давить, чтобы вы подписали контракт. Универсальный совет и близко не подходить к военкомату, не являться по повесткам, не сдаваться в целом самостоятельно актуален, конечно, и сегодня. Но, к сожалению, государство стало намного активнее ловить людей, которые в армию по первому его зову не бегут. Сегодня как раз с вами поговорим об изменениях в законе, правоприменительной практике и о том, что можно с этим всем сделать, чтобы в армию не попасть. Этот ролик помог подготовить военный юрист Артем Колыга. Ролик основан на информации от российских правозащитных организаций, продолжающих помогать призывникам и отказчикам. Список этих организаций с контактами будет в описании. Осенью 2024 года в Москве возникла новая практика – призывать людей по решениям прошлых кампаний. То есть решения, например, могли вынести еще весной 2024 года, но по какой-то причине отправить человека в военную часть тогда не смогли, не успели, не захотели. Человек мог уехать из страны или обжаловать решение в вышестоящей комиссии или суде. На этот случай раньше существовала установленная законом процедура. Все нереализованные решения подлежали отмене после того, как призывная кампания заканчивалась. Ну и в новую призывную кампанию весь процесс запускался заново. Призывники этим правилом часто пользовались. Можно было обжаловать любое решение о призыве в суде, затянуть рассмотрение дела, и когда призывная кампания закончится, выйти без проблем из, казалось бы, безнадежной ситуации. Появлялось достаточно времени, чтобы лучше подготовиться к следующей призывной кампании и отбиваться вновь. И у государства к такому призывнику претензий не было. Военкоматам, понятное дело, эта лазейка не нравилась. И прошлой осенью в Москве с ней решили разобраться. Призывники, стоящие на учете в едином пункте призыва, начали получать повестки не на медосвидетельствование, а сразу на сборный пункт. Те, кто не явились или пытались обжаловать такую процедуру, попадали под облаву. В начале 25-го депутаты решили узаконить такую практику по всей стране. В пояснительной записке, внесенного в январе законопроекта, говорится: граждане, дескать, пользуются отсутствием срока действия решений и обжалуют их для уклонения от призыва. И тут же предлагается выход – сделать все решения призывных комиссий действующими со сроком в 1 год. Законопроект еще не вступил в силу, но стремительно проходит чтение в Госдуме, а список его авторов не оставляет надежд, что инициативу отклонят. Если против вас есть такое решение, немедленно обжалуйте его в вышестоящей комиссии, а затем в суде. Воспользуйтесь возможностью, пока есть время, и подайте в военкомат заявление о годности со ссылкой на обновленные медицинские документы. В Москве их нужно загрузить в базу ЕМИАС через госуслуги или в свою поликлинику, а в регионах можно просто приобщить к личному делу в бумажном виде. Только не лично, пожалуйста, сами не ходите. Основная задача — показать, что ваше здоровье на самом деле ухудшается, а потому реализовывать осеннее решение о призыве по отношению к вам нельзя. Всю процедуру нужно начать сначала, с медосвидетельства. Сейчас поговорим про цифровизацию системы призыва и про другие проблемы, но сначала актуальное объявление от Школы прав человека. Посмотрите, пожалуйста. В какой период истории появились права человека? Как их защищали в советское время и как защищают сейчас? Как сегодня работают российские правозащитники? Ответы на эти вопросы вы получите в Школе прав человека имени Елены Боннер. Сейчас сюда как раз продолжается набор. Вас познакомят с историей и теорией прав человека, расскажут, какие есть правозащитные проекты и как к ним можно присоединиться. Обучение бесплатное. Это некоммерческий образовательный проект для активистов, журналистов, правозащитников и просто тех, кто хочет разобраться в правах человека и общественных процессах. Участвовать можно из любой точки России и мира. Обучение происходит онлайн на платформе Zoom. Занятия будут 2 раза в неделю, и так в течение 3 месяцев. Вашими лекторами станут известные правозащитники, вы будете получать домашние задания, работать в группах. Вольетесь в сообщество единомышленников и затем сможете принять участие в новых правозащитных проектах. Узнаете больше о цифровой безопасности и какие IT-скиллы могут вам пригодиться. Эксперты также поделятся опытом, как сохранить НКО-организацию в сложных обстоятельствах и как организовать помощь людям в космосе. Юристом после обучения вы, конечно, не станете, но понятие о том, как работают правозащитники из разных инициатив, у вас появится. И вы сможете опробовать новые знания на практике. Количество мест ограничено, заявки принимаются только до 2 апреля. Так что поспешите заполнить анкету на сайте. Ссылку я оставлю.
До 2 апреля. Сегодня 2 апреля. I completely forgot I was still playing.
I'll take you.
В описании. Не нужно быть юристом или активистом, чтобы принять участие. Не обязательно проживать в России, достаточно просто интереса к теме и желания помогать людям. Если вам близка такая тема, не упустите эту возможность. Узнать о работе правозащитников и получить актуальные инструменты из первых рук. В этом году появились первые подтверждения, что электронный реестр воинского учета частично запустили в Москве. И его функционал уже не ограничивается одной только рассылкой электронных повесток через МОСРУ. В январе несовершеннолетних москвичей автоматически поставили на воинский учет без личной явки и предложили им пройти медицинское освидетельствование, когда им исполнится 18 лет. Москва стала первым регионом, где такую процедуру стали проводить в удаленном режиме. Затем выяснилось, что и документы воинского учета, приписные удостоверения, в Москве начали выдавать в электронном виде. Информация об этом появилась на сайте единого пункта призыва. Получить приписное в бумажном виде тоже можно, но для этого нужно сначала подать отдельное заявление. Причем изменение это затронет не только вчерашних школьников, но и всех, кто изъявит желание получить документ в Москве. Например, новых граждан России, встающих на учет в возрасте от 18 до 30 лет. Наконец, доказательства работы реестра всплыли в суде. Призывника оштрафовали за неявку по электронной повестке, а тот подал жалобу. Тогда военкомат Москвы предоставил в суд скриншот из электронного реестра. И хотя электронную повестку направили не через реестр, а в личный кабинет на МОСРУ, Московский суд посчитал такое вручение законным. Суд первой инстанции согласился с назначенным военкоматом штрафом в 30 тысяч рублей. Как я сказал, реестр пока функционирует в ограниченном режиме. То есть либо что-то полноценно заработает в ближайшие месяцы, либо будет дорабатываться в течение этого года. Из того, что может заработать в ближайшие месяцы, введение ограничений на выезд за границу. И учитывая, что пионером цифрового призыва в России является Москва, такая участь с большой вероятностью сначала постигнет стоящих на воинском учете в столице. Также с электронным реестром связаны и бытовые ограничения. Запрет на управление автомобилем, регистрацию недвижимости, ограничения по возможности взять кредит, открыть ИП или сделать статус самозанятого. И про электронные повестки. Да, по закону их должны направить только через специализированный реестр. Это та самая публичная его часть, у которой есть отдельный сайт с возможностью авторизации. Так написано в законе. Но в Москве другая процедура. Повестки рассылают в личные кабинеты на портале МОСРУ, а затем пугают призывников ограничениями и ответственностью. Процедура в таком виде расходится с тем, что написано в законе, но практика пока складывается в пользу военкоматов. Поэтому имейте в виду, если вы получили повестку, вы можете получить и штраф до 30 тысяч рублей за неявку, а ваши данные могут передать полиции в закрытый список уклонистов, чтобы она силой доставила вас в единый пункт призыва или на сборный пункт. Но вы все еще можете снизить риски. Найдите уважительную причину, чтобы не являться по такой повестке. Их перечень довольно широкий. И обжалуйте электронную повестку в военной прокуратуре или суде. Как минимум, это позволит вам выиграть время. В феврале Минобороны вновь предложила изменить подход к медицинскому освидетельствованию призывников. Прошлый раз был в декабре 23-го, но инициатива мгновенно собрала 800 негативных отзывов на портале проектов нормативных правовых актов. Тогда чиновники Минобороны не дошли даже до публикации изменений. Но сейчас все выглядит серьезнее. Новые поправки подаются как совершенствование системы с учетом опыта проведения СВО. В пояснительной записке речь идет только о военнослужащих и ничего не говорится о призывниках. Но в самом тексте проекта много изменений и по ним. Например, гипертония первой стадии с повышенными показателями давления больше не основание для освобождения от призыва. То же и с астмой. Если последние 5 лет приступов не было и бронхопровокационный тест отрицательный, то поставят призывную категорию от А до Б. Раньше с сифилисом или саркоидозом первой стадии давали освобождение, а теперь будут призывать на службу. Псориаз, дерматит, экзему теперь нужно будет подтвердить в стационарных условиях, то есть полежать в больнице. Тяжелее станет доказать и наличие заболеваний нервной системы, психических расстройств и ожирения. Новый проект был опубликован в декабре 24-го. Это подзаконный акт, то есть изменения внесут не через Госдуму, а постановлением правительства. И вполне вероятно, это произойдет уже в апреле, чтобы освидетельствовать всех по новым правилам. Если в списке есть заболевание, которое затрагивает вас или вашего ребенка, ознакомьтесь с новой процедурой перед прохождением медосвидетельствования в военкомате. А по возможности проконсультируйтесь обязательно с правозащитниками. Политика облав и принудительной отправки в военные части тоже совершенствуется. На прошлых выходных, еще до официального старта призывной кампании, сотрудники военкомата и парни в масках с оружием проверяли документы посетителей одного из фитнес-клубов.
Alright, that's going to be it for the stream. Good luck, fun, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.